Hi, we're live.
Ah, hello.
Welcome from the heart. Not quite the
No,
heart.
no, that's definitely not the heart.
But we are in. Well, if the forecast had gone as it was last night, this would have been the eye passing over us for Tropical Storm
One.
Isaias. Actually, it was Hurricane, Category 1, minor hurricane.
Yes. Yesterday we were preparing for a potential direct path of the hurricane going over us. It got downgraded last night, and they actually even removed our tropical storm warnings like a couple hours ago, right?
Yeah, so we are underwhelmed. We were planning to have a live let's share a hurricane party with all of you guys, but instead we're just gonna, instead of like rocking and rolling, because we are a little bit.
Yep. Winds right here are currently at 25 miles per hour. We're in a fairly protected basin. We have a big building off right behind the camera over there that's kind of blocking a lot of the wind.
And a big riverboat over there blocking. Well, that's where the wind's heading that
the
way.
The wind's coming directly towards us, so it's the wind right now is that building is blocking it quite a bit for us. There's a little bit of wave in motion here in the basin in the lake, but we are in Sanford, Florida, on Lake Monroe. We're about 40 miles inland from the coast,
shore, from the coast, yeah.
Which is one reason why we picked this location to ride out hurricane season this year.
And yeah, so there's not a lot of excitement to show you. Maybe at the end of the thing, we'll spin the camera outside and you can see the flags flapping around. Our boat is moving more than it has since we got here because this lake is so protected, but even still, it's just like
it's gentle.
Right now.
It is so gentle. It's nice.
It feels nice.
Yes, it does. So thankful that our plans to show you a chaotic storm did not come through. We are supposed to get a little dicier later tonight and overnight.
Yeah, I think overnight the gusts are supposed to get up in the 40s, but still, that's nothing that's no more than a normal afternoon thunderstorm. So yay! And it's sunny blue skies.
It is. It has actually been a quite pleasant day, just a little breezy.
And a few bouts of rain,
little rain showers that come through. It hasn't been bad at all. Here we heard from my mom out on the coast. She's over in the Melbourne area. She's reporting very similar over there, and we've heard some friends on boats down in the Port St. Lucie area that are also reporting that nothing much to report on.
Yeah, it's always good when a hurricane or a tropical storm is underwhelming because when they're the opposite, and we've experienced the opposite, and that is horrifying in so many ways, particularly because
so there's my mom in the chat room saying hello from sunny Melbourne.
Yes.
So we thought instead of talking about being in the middle of a hurricane, we have been fielding a lot of questions about planning around hurricanes because number one is, well, what the heck are you doing in Florida?
Hurricane season again.
And as many of you know, I lived in Florida since the mid-90s. It's where my parents are. Your parents winter here. We have lots of family, a lot of community ties here. Our domiciles in Florida. So when the pandemic hit, this was just the natural place for us to return to.
And partly why we picked Sanford here is because it's about as hurricane safe in Florida as you can be because you are way inland and way up a river, so you're not near the coast. By the time even a big storm gets here, it is going to have lost a lot of its potential energy. So this is considered one of the best hurricane holes in all of Florida.
Really. I guess it's a hole. So that's why we returned here, knowing that the pandemic was going to be a long-term thing, and it was going to put us definitely through hurricane season. So if we're going to be still somewhere, we might as well come back to Sanford, a town we love, and a town that's close to friends and close to my mom.
And pretty safe for the boat.
Yep. So it's a good all-around solution for us. And we have our camper van here, the Travato, right up there in the lot. So that's our getaway vehicle if we need to actually evacuate the area. So we feel this year's is pretty well covered.
And particularly people say, well, there's like this myth like Florida is hurricane central, but hurricanes can hit anywhere all across from all the way to the Gulf Coast of Texas, all the way across and all the way up into Maine. So there's the zone for avoiding hurricanes is basically go to the Pacific Northwest or something,
or
the
Colorado,
Midwest,
or the Grand Tetons or something like that. And then there's all sorts of great things you can do. But being in the hurricane zones for summer, a lot of people say, well, why would you want to do it? Isn't it hot and humid there? And yes, but not nearly as bad as some other places we've been for summer, like Central Texas, St. Louis, Madison, Wisconsin. Those have been some of our most, Yuma, Arizona. Those have been some of our most horridly hot summers.
And Florida, particularly when you're on the coast, you get a lot of sea breeze. Here in Central Florida, that's the downside is in the center here in Sanford, It gets a little stifling. Actually, gets a lot of stifling some days, but it's not too bad. We at least get lake breezes.
We've had far worse summers and far hotter, far more miserable. I'll take a Florida summer over one in the Midwest any day. I'll go up in the mountains would be a lot better, but our boat's not going to get up that way very easily. So, so here we are. And whatever your reason might be for being in a hurricane zone during hurricane season, you probably have your reasons. We're going to say, hey, it's awesome. Just because you're in a hurricane zone does not mean you're going to die.
There's millions of people who live in hurricane zones, and not very many of them die.
Exactly. There's this myth that if you're in a hurricane zone, you are immediately in danger. And of all the natural calamities that can happen, earthquakes, wildfires, tornadoes, hurricanes have the blessing that you get advanced warning.
Yeah, like you don't get an alert 4 days in advance saying, hey, there's going to be a tornado on Tuesday, or look out for that earthquake, there's going to be coming near you, it might just split the earth open and destroy your life. Hurricanes, sometimes, particularly the really, really big ones, they're slow moving bulldozers that, they're terrifying because they're like, are they going to hit? Are they going to swerve? Are they going to hit? Are they going to swerve? But you're in that cone of uncertainty, and as long as you're still in that cone of uncertainty, you know that you really need to be planning ahead.
Right.
You get days, if not like almost a full week sometimes, of warning.
So that I consider a blessing, is we have the opportunity to make plans. And anyone who has spent any time in a hurricane zone, they know the routine. You stock up on supplies at the beginning of hurricane season. You have your plan. You know what you're going to do if a hurricane or a major storm is threatening your area, and you know what your threshold is between when you evacuate and when you're willing to stay. And everyone has their own threshold, and it's, listen to your local authorities and your local resources to help figure out what there's going to be.
Should I stay or should I go?
Should you stay or should you go? But, first is, hurricane season officially is from June 1st to the end of November, but we consider the peak season to be kind of mid-August through mid-October. That's where the major storms, that's where they can come fast and furious, and they can come major. And that's when we shift to tracking hurricane and tropical systems on a daily basis.
Yes. And so, we get actually a little bit obsessive about weather this time of year. I think a lot of people in Florida do, particularly people with boats. Boaters, hurricanes are a much higher level of concern for boaters. And I guess we'll talk a little bit about why that is. But we get obsessive this time of year around checking the forecast, checking the long-term forecast, and paying attention so that when it does become national news, we're already a couple days ahead of planning and stuff. Do you want to share our resources now?
So, and of course, the National Hurricane Center is the place you should go. Yes. There's the website that you can go to. We check that pretty much. I wake up in the morning and I check that. Is there any dots on the map that we need to be paying attention to?
You can look at their long-term forecast. So you can see the areas that are invests or pre-invest, the stuff that is potentially interesting, and you can go dive into the geeky stuff to see what's up with that.
Right. We tend to not like to watch the clickbaity sort of sensationalist channels. They can get you unnecessarily on edge. And I like to reduce stress in my life and only react to the things that are actual threats to me. So we have fallen in love with, I think that's a fair, safe bet to say, Levi is our hurricane crush.
So this guy, Tropical Tidbits, put him down there. His website, was a PhD candidate. Now he's got his PhD, but he is like just the uber weather geek, and he puts out the models and the data and kind of does the analysis that tons of other online weather sites then refer to his data and analysis. And his website is so super geeky. It'll be way over anyone's head unless you are also a PhD candidate. But when there's actually active storms coming, he does about a 15 to 20 minute
daily video and explains to you what his concerns are, what things could impact, what could impact the track. And it's great. You'll learn. We have learned a lot about storms and weather and how to read, because what gets to the National Hurricane Center is usually a little bit behind of what all the geeks are talking about. They're basically taking it as an assimilation.
Oh, well, yeah. Mm-hmm. So the National Hurricane Center, they are the definitive place for forecasts and kind of distilling it all down. But they're kind of distilling it all down, whereas if you want to kind of understand the thinking that leads to the forecasts, and also maybe get a jump a little bit ahead of the forecast, you still have to trust the National Hurricane Center, but you'll get a sense for what's actually happening. you'll get a sense for what's actually happening by watching Tropical Tidbits. So during hurricane season, when he's got a new video out, it's a must watch. And I encourage anyone else who is into weather.
There's a lot of other resources out there. On Mike's weather page, he actually takes a lot of Tropical Tidbits spaghetti models and
yes.
does his own analysis of them. And then get to know what your local resources are and the ones that you trust. Good. Some of them can be really quite good, especially if you're in our active hurricane zone. All right.
It's got windy here too. Also.
Oh, and windy.
Yes,
yes. Windy.
This one here is, let me bring up the little video here. This is, Cherie's head is now morphed into Windy. Windy is the Weather Geek's ultimate app / website. So you can go to windy.com, or there's also a Windy app. And because it's run by Weather Geeks, it's basically free. You could pay a premium membership and support them, which we encourage you to do. But it's also completely free, not ad-driven. And it visualizes in such a beautiful way how wind flows and how storms flow. And you can see this is actually recorded just a few minutes ago. So this is Isaias nicely staying off the coast and all the wind and storms.
And that's going into forecast mode because it's not up there yet.
Yeah, so now, so it's starting where we're at, and then it'll play ahead, and it uses, it's probably the definitive beautiful visualizations that will play and let you pick between different models. You can see the Euro model or the GFS model and just see how things play out. So I could geek out about Windy, but check it out.
I have my head back now.
You can have your head back. There you go.
All right, so the decision to stay or go. And I think it's different for RVs and boats, and it definitely is for us. Now, an RV, it can move at 50, 60, 70 miles per hour. Within an hour, you can get outside of the projected zone.
Assuming there's no traffic. So
assuming there's no traffic. But RVs are much more mobile. They have wheels. They're your self-contained home on wheels. To me, if a major storm is coming and is going to impact your area, fire it up and get the heck out of there.
That's what that's what the wheels are for. Your house can move and get out of there. Boats are a whole nother consideration because most boats can't go faster than the storm is coming. So you have to make your decision to bug out and which direction you're going to bug out way, way in advance. When we were deciding to potentially flee from Irma, a few other boats took off and sailed for Cuba and sailed across the Gulf. And, some of them actually didn't make it because that's a major commitment. But we're like, nope, we can't get our boat out of the way. So we're going to get us out of the way.
Exactly. There was no clarity on which coast Irma was going up. And if we had gambled the wrong way on which coast Irma went, we could have been in a worse situation than we were in.
Would have lost our evacuation potential for us and our bus.
So understand what your priorities are when you're going. Storms can shift tracks very rapidly. RVs are much better to stay ahead of them. Boats can't as much. So we lean towards, most cases, we're going to find a way to either secure our boat where it's at, find a safe hurricane hole to take it to and secure it there, or haul out. And we have done all variations of that we're going on our 4th hurricane season with the boat, which is amazing.
Yes, and we've been in hurricane zones every time. So, we've experienced all sorts.
Last year we hauled out for hurricane season in Savannah. The year before that, we ducked up on the St. Johns River in Jacksonville, which was about 20 miles inland. And this year we're in Sanford. And of course, one year we decided just to put our boat right in the middle of a Category 4 hurricane.
Yeah, we decided, hey, what are the odds that hurricane's going to hit the Keys? It hasn't happened in 10 years. Let's go to Marathon. And then we were there for Irma.
Yes, and we survived. We're extremely thankful, but we take hurricanes seriously.
Yes.
With an RV, we feel we can get it out of the way. So we're kind of using a combo method right now. We have the boat here. If we need to evacuate ourselves, we have our camper van here. We use the camper van to get ourselves safely out of the zone. Our plan this year will probably be leaving the boat here in Sanford.
It's hard to think of a better place for the boat than
Sanford. We're 100 miles to get up to the ICW. We might, if it was coming central, it was clearly coming central. Maybe we'd move the boat up 20, 30 miles up the river. Maybe not. We have the thing is with boats, there's only so many limited roads out there that you can go. So there's only so many directions that you could move, and your boat moves much slower, usually slower than the speed of the storm is going. So that's our consideration with there. You definitely want to have your own risk threshold. If you're in a hurricane zone, just keep in mind there could be mandatory evacuations that force you to leave your vessel, force you to leave with your RV campgrounds that are on the coast may be shut down, and you may be forced to leave them.
That's one of the important considerations is whatever plan you're making is have your plan, but also have your worst case scenario other plan. Like if the rug gets ripped out from you, the storm makes an unexpected turn, or the places you're at say, sorry, you have to go. don't let that take you by surprise. Have your backup plan
Yes.
already thought through.
Absolutely. Okay, so the risks of a hurricane, everyone thinks about the wind, and that's how they're measured. And wind is one thing. And, you know, an RV and a boat, you know, they're made to withstand wind.
Yeah, they drive down highways or down the water. Well,
boats don't drive down highways that often.
Yes, but
RVs, I mean, they move at 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. They're designed to take that sort of wind. But what they're not designed for is the debris that could become deadly projectiles in that force of wind. So trees and branches and lawn furniture and stuff that your neighbor doesn't put away.
Yes, and that's and also they're not designed to take it broadside necessarily or with their slides out. So you have to batten yourself down, get back into highway mode, and do yourself and all your neighbors a favor and pack up anything that might blow.
Yes. Absolutely. But hurricanes also can spawn tornadoes. So you can have very localized, intense, higher than the storm is rated for winds. Very locally, that could do massive damage. And flooding. Flooding is something that, you know, you saw with Harvey in Houston a couple of years ago.
Flooding kills more people and does more property damage than the storms do. And the flooding can actually happen after the storm goes. You think, oh, hey, made it through. This is great. But the flood comes. And particularly, this is where we've seen RVs get totally trashed. Is they're like, hey, this is great. I got a nice RV park and it's on a floodplain. And hurricane's gone by, and suddenly that whole floodplain is under 3 feet of water, and nobody's going to lose their life, but the RVs, everything that stayed behind, stuck and flooded and totaled.
So those can do massive damage. So there's good reason if you can get your RV out of the way, do so. A boat actually floats, you know, so you get flooding, it floats with it as long as you've got proper lines and anchoring to keep it from floating away. All right, so preps that you can do for your RV and boat. First is your tanks. Make sure all your tanks are at their optimal levels. You want your fuel tanks full. And we always keep all of our fuel tanks always full as much as we can during hurricane season. Because if a storm is approaching and evacuations are ordered for your area, gas stations and fuel stations fill up.
Empty.
They get empty and they have long lines. And trying to get an RV into a crowded fuel station is a disaster in and of itself.
Yes. And then you also want to make sure your fresh tanks are fully topped off. They've actually put up signs here at the marina here saying that if winds pick up, they're going to have to cut off water to the docks because the lines might break, and then who knows how long it takes until they get them back again. So have your water prepared for both before and after the storm. Top off.
Unlike the locals who have to go and stock up on bottled water or fill their bathtubs with water before a storm, we have holding tanks. We're used to being self-contained.
Yes.
Use them to your advantage. And if you are staying put in an RV or boat, that extra water that you fill those tanks with adds extra weight.
Holds you down.
Which holds you down a little bit more. Maybe that's what is the tipping point.
Yes. And then also make sure your waste tanks are empty too, because again, this is something that if this storm does hit, even if it's not a major storm, the infrastructure, they might not be able to dump you. The sewers might be flooded and stuff. If there's no other damage, you still might not be able to dump for a while after.
Right. When we got back after Irma to our boat, the marina we're at, they brought a golf cart around and pumped you out, and then they took it over to the sewer site. Well, their golf cart got flooded in the storm.
Away, yes.
There was no way to pump us out. And actually, they had
they managed to find a pump out boat and make arrangements for all the survivors and stuff.
But it was about 2 weeks. Yeah. About 2 weeks before they had an option for pumping out. So I'm very thankful that we pumped out before the storm, so we had empty tanks when we got back. Test all your systems. Make sure your engine turns on and is ready to go if it's not been turned on for a while. Make sure
your generator.
Yes, your generator could be essential for after the storm.
Yeah, really. If power goes out, sometimes it can be weeks. Actually, sometimes it can be months. You know, my family went through Hurricane Andrew, and it was a long time before there's electricity again.
If you have an RV with slides and you haven't closed them in a while, make sure they close, because the last thing you want to be doing is fiddling with those when you're trying to either get them in to reduce your windage or to get the heck out of there.
And yeah, because be prepared, because when a storm is coming through, it's that sideways rain and stuff. You'll find leaks that you never knew you had, and you don't want to be battening down the house while the storm is coming through.
Make sure anything outside that is movable is stowed away, tied down, put away. Things can pick up in the wind and fly and damage your property, damage other people's property. Try to minimize it as much as possible. Try to minimize your own windage as much as possible. If you're on a boat, that means taking down your sails, your biminies, solar panels, anything that can add extra windage, so that the less windage you have, the less your boat is going to be moving in that wind.
And the less stuff that could potentially be ripped off. You know, you don't want your canvas gets torn apart in storms all the time, and the time and effort to take it down is probably worth it. You got to balance the
we have our threshold. Cat 1, we're probably leaving it. More than that, we're probably taking it down.
Yep.
Let's see, if you're staying or storing your vessel or your RV in an area, also, especially if you're staying, know what your emergency plan is as things go haywire. If the boat starts to sink, we have been on with Coast Guard calls while boats are sinking during a hurricane. The person didn't even have a flotation device with him. Never mind a to-go bag or a dinghy to get off.
Yeah, so it was horrifying to listen to basically somebody's disaster. So know what your backup plan is if things go south. Have your go bag. Know where you're, like, is there a concrete building nearby that you can grab your cat and your go bag and get to.
Have a go bag.
Yes.
So if this storm had actually developed and there was a chance that it could get really bad and we needed to evacuate to our van, we would have had a bag ready to go with a few days change. Well, actually, the van is already set up
with that. All
set
ready
up with
to go.
with non-perishable food. The tanks are all set, but we would have grabbed some clothes, we would have grabbed litter and food for the cat, made sure everything was set and ready for us to go. So know what you're going to do if you have to evacuate last minute, if you're choosing to stay in the storm path, because things can go bad really fast, and emergency help cannot get to you in some cases.
Because in some cases things happen that are completely outside your control. Like, you're all well tied down, but the boat across from you breaks free and comes and spears you. I mean, that happened around our marina in Irma. So bad things happen. Be ready. Even in smaller storms, be ready.
Yes. And then there's preparing for after the storm, whether you're returning to the area. Did we actually get thunder?
No, that wasn't thunder. That was a nice gust of wind that just tilted the boat a little bit.
Oh, wow. Actually.
Hey,
my mom said she's getting some rain down there, too. So after the storm, whether you're returning or if you're staying, be prepared for all of this. Number one, if you're on an island or inaccessible area, access may be limited. It was 3 weeks before we were allowed back into the Keys after Irma.
Yes, and so if you evacuate, keep that in mind that you might not be able to get back, or if you stay someplace, keep in mind that you might not be able to leave after in the aftermath, depending on how big the storm is.
And it may not just be bureaucracy. It may be bridges get washed out, and you physically can't get there, so it could be longer. If you do return, be prepared for there being no power, sometimes for weeks, no water, no available fuel,
limited food.
It may take a while for supplies to actually make it back into grocery stores. Grocery stores may not have enough power to have fresh food for a while. So have your non-perishable foods ready for that case. There also could be lots of destruction around. Be prepared for that. Make sure you're up to date on your tetanus shot and things like that, especially if you're going to be doing volunteer work and cleanup work to help with others.
And if you're going to be in a storm area after the storm, be there to be useful, not to be a tourist. Definitely, keep that in mind, because if your house has wheels and you can leave to be less of a burden on that local infrastructure, well, do that. Go someplace else. You don't need to be there in the midst of it.
Right. Or if you're able to volunteer with an organization and come back in, try to do it in a coordinated manner, because the last thing a community in distress needs is a whole bunch of helpful outsiders coming in unorganized and actually using more resources than they are providing. But there are great organizations that do come in after the fact to help find them and organize with them to come back in. And I think that's a good summation of...
This is our hurricane party right now, right?
Yeah, yep. So my mom says, gotta love a TS like this one. Yes,
she said she was now a band of rain came through, and then it was gone. So this storm has been most of the activity, and we've been watching it on Windy. Most of all the clouds and the rain and the heaviest wind has been to offshore. The northeast quadrant, so offshore. So
some of the models show some of that spinning around to us overnight, so we'll be remaining aware of that. It's not predicted to be major by any means, but of course they can always spawn localized storms. So that's this thing to stay aware of.
And this is one important thing is, even when you have a storm like this one, that Isaiah says not a big deal, consider it practice as a dry run and a rehearsal for when you have something like an Irma that is a monster that is terrorizing the entire state. You know, it's
so we went through. We put on all of our storm lines here. We knew.
Tested the generator, topped the tanks.
We did all the tanks. You know, we did do a supply run beforehand to make sure we had enough wine.
Speaking of, is it time to open the wine?
I think it is. So that's the end of the presentation portion of the evening. I hope that was helpful. We've been dealing with hurricanes for many, many years. Me, probably, 25 years now.
And I was in Miami when I was high school and had Hurricane Andrew basically destroy our house. So
hurricanes are actually what led me to RVing. The 2004 hurricane season here in Central Florida was very, very hectic. And it was during my third evacuation that I stayed up all night and was pondering what it would be like to have a small RV to evacuate in and then return to my house while it was being fixed up and living in an RV. So I bought an RV on eBay overnight, sight unseen. Not recommended. So anyway, if you have questions for us, it can be about hurricanes, it can be about nomadic life, boats, cats, RVs. We're happy to stick around and answer questions now.
Cheers.
Toasting you.
Toasting you guys. And here's to Isaiah, who decided to be nice to us.
And I'm hoping he is equally as nice to those where he is heading up in the Carolina
I think they just did put out hurricane watches, so there's potential for strengthening. So pay attention. Do not let your guard down with hurricanes. But may it be a nice one.
I do like this. 9 moons. It's yummy.
7 moons.
7 moons. Only
7. This is, the 9 moons cost way too much.
Okay.
This is only 7
So
moons.
I only got the 7 moons. Okay, cool.
There we go.
Kiki, someone wants to know how you are.
She's been monitoring the storm very closely.
Do you want to go show them the storm?
We'll do that in a minute. It's
some questions.
Okay. Okay. Well, come on. Put some questions up. I'll spin the camera around.
And you can show Richard Kiki.
Okay. Cat camera.
Kiki.
Kitten. Hey, there we go. And look at this ferocious storm. There's flags blowing by. Yeah, see, you can see there's actual wind out there. And our wind gauge on the front of our boat, only 6 miles an hour right now. Oh,
it says 12.
That gust there, and let's see. There's somebody's got one mounted higher on a mast that comes out as 25 miles an hour higher up on the. We're down nestled with that big building there. So this is not even any rain. Nothing too exciting here.
Maybe we'll get something more exciting overnight,
yes.
But not too exciting.
Not too exciting. Oh, I could give a little picky of the cheesecake too. No, okay. There we are.
So Sabina wants to know if the floppy fish has arrived. So we were surfing Instagram the other day, and an ad for a USB rechargeable cat toy came up. So we ordered it. It has not arrived yet.
No, yes, we're excited. Kiki is clearly on the edge of her seat waiting for the floppy fish.
So we have now been in Sanford for 4 months since we arrived.
This is the longest stop ever, basically. Not
yet. I think we have now, in 1 week, we will have beat our last extended stay in Sanford, which was our second longest stay ever. Our longest ever stay was when we moved over to the Virgin Islands, and we were there for just over 5 months. So in a month's time, this will be our longest stay ever.
We'll be celebrating our longest stop. But we have had breaks with the van. We just did a camping trip out to Gamble Rogers, and so we've been getting out.
Yeah, it has been really nice to mix it up with getting out in the camping van, visiting some of our local state parks, going out with the RV Crazy Crowds, and joining up with them. That's been really fun to do some social distance camping with them. And getting out doing signal testing. We are keeping.
We've been working so much.
Oh my gosh! I realized I thought I was putting out lots of content, and I have been. I produced 14 videos in the month of July, probably more articles that we wrote, and then realized only one of those videos was for the Technomadia channel, and that's because so many of our workday now is going towards the Mobile Internet Resource Center. The news is just coming out at a rapid pace with low Earth orbit satellites.
5G rolling out, tons of gear, tons of plans changes, Sprint and T-Mobile becoming one. And then just so many people hitting the road in RVs because it's the safe way to travel that there's more demand for RV advice and content and gear and
We just
RVs
had
than ever
the
before.
most new members onboarded ever last month, and it's a blessing to have that. But it also means there's a heck of a lot. Every time we have a new member join, it's helping them go through the basics again. And a lot of people are getting RVs and wanting to hit the road immediately, so they're on the fast track, and that's. There's so much to learn with everything, with learning RVs, and never mind learning mobile internet. I just saw that pontoon boat move. I was like, okay.
It's not breaking loose yet.
Okay.
Yes. But yeah, we have friends who are camp hosting up in Maine. They say that every RV in the park is the park is completely full, and every RV's got temp tags because it's all newbies diving into the RV world.
So yeah, definitely is a challenge right now with all the new RVers hitting the road. As far as experienced RVers, it's be patient, be helpful, and for the new RVers out there, is take some time and learn too. So it's an equal going out. Not seeing any questions for us to field.
Yes, I hope everybody else is going to stay safe from the hurricane. Valerie wants to ask about the RV documentary. I think that's the RVers series.
Yeah, it's out.
Yeah, so the RVers TV series, we were part of season 1, and I had a little one episode in season 2, but the season 2 just finished airing
on Discovery, it is now available on Apple, iTunes.
Yeah, you could buy it on Apple and iTunes, and then it's on PBS stations. So every local PBS station puts their own schedule together. So it might be airing in Chicago one week and airing in where else. There's not even a national guide for finding where PBS stuff is. You have to check your local listings, but if you really want to see it, you can go get it on iTunes or Amazon or Google.
Yep. I don't know when it's going to be replaying on Discovery Channel. We dropped out after the first season. It just was the filming was more demanding and scheduling and things, and it was just too much for us.
And Valerie asked what it's called. It's called The RVers. So you could look for that, TheRVers, or The RVers TV, I believe is the website.
TheRVers.tv is their website. So we are still going to be guest hosts when the magic all aligns for us to meet up with their film crew, and happens to be where we are. We might film an episode or two here and there, but it's just too much pressure to. Like we'd meet up with them at an RV rally, we'd spend our entire RV rally filming and not enjoying time with friends. And
but we did some stuff in the first season. It was fun, and now we've moved on. Good hurricane question from John and Sharon saying, do you do anything special for internet access during a hurricane weather? Any special prep or equipment?
Redundancy is your key there, especially during Irma, all the carriers went down during the storm and afterwards, and then the carriers started bringing in
portable cell towers
and things. So service started coming back in.
But having multiple ways online was key. And actually what we did is we left one of our security cameras running and streaming, so we were able to watch Irma tear through until the internet went out remotely, so we were able to monitor our boat when that happened.
Yeah, that's it's for us, because we don't plan to actually be in a major hurricane zone. Personally, we'll either be leaving the boat and getting away by our RV or something like that. So it's more about remote monitoring for us, and we'll take with us our system with us, whatever we happen to be using at the time.
So Joe points out the URL for the RVers TV. Thank you, Joe. It's always good to see you pop up here. And our friends Eric and Jeanette, they're further up the coast. I think they're on the James River, and they spent the day prepping their boat, stripping their boat for the weather.
The size is coming their way.
And Colin was, is it bad? By the time it gets to North Carolina, it might be. So keep watching the forecast. Right. It stuttered. The storm hit a lot of shear coming into Florida, and basically is turning into a non-event.
For here,
not done yet.
But there's many miles before it gets up to the Carolina coastline. Just track it and keep up with it, and tap into those resources and be aware and be prepared.
It's nice when it's boring, and it's better to be ahead of the curve than panicking afterwards.
Right. And it does get exhausting.
It does. That's
because you'll have all these threats, and you'll get to a point where it's like
it's the crying wolf thing. It's like, oh, another storm, evacuate, and you got to strike your right balance that way.
Absolutely. But, you do have to take them serious because there are serious ones. There's a reason people take them seriously because you do get the Katrinas and the Michaels and
the
the
Irmas
Irmas and all these. They have names for a reason. They
yes,
they all have their own
they retire the
personality.
names if the hurricane gets to do awful things. So always hope for a forgettable hurricane where you won't remember the name for a generation.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Oh, Richard's got a new kitten. Oh, Kiki will have to get together.
That'd be a lot of coastal erosion. It's a full moon tomorrow. Always brings huger tides. I don't think he meant hugger tides.
Yes, the huggers start piling on you, and in COVID times, you don't want them hugging you. So yeah, that's dangerous. But yeah, no, actually, yeah, hurricanes again, storm surge. It's the water that does the damage, and if you're near the coast and you're subject to tides, and you're getting king tides, plus a storm surge, that is when things get crazy. So yes, be very aware of your local forecasts and conditions, and know that if you are on high ground, if you think you're on high ground, confirm it. Check with the local resources to make sure you're not in a storm surge area, because that is what will wipe away your RV or rip your boat off pilings and stuff. So definitely be careful.
Right, and flood walls, if those break, that's what happened in New Orleans during Katrina, or after Katrina actually, is the flood walls break, and that's what caused so much of the damage. So yeah, definitely be aware of that. Here in Sanford during Irma, the St. Johns River, it was a king tide. The storm surge wrecked a lot of the St. Johns River, going all the way up 100 miles. And even down here, the water was really highly elevated. They had the Barbara Lee, the paddle wheeler that's right out the back of our boat right now. It was up for repairs in Jacksonville, and it couldn't make it underneath the normal 43-foot fixed bridge to get back here until that receded.
It took months for the waters to go down. So Eric points out that he hadn't been thinking about the flooding, but they're on the James River, and there's a 20-foot high flood wall, and you think they probably built that wall for a reason. So
absolutely, it seems like a logical thing. Water is fluid. Water is really fluid. It changes so much in the heights and the surges, and I wasn't really as aware of it until we started having to base our lives around it with tidal changes. It's been a nice break here, being on the river system where we don't have a tidal change.
Yes.
But you're cruising in the Georgia, the Carolinas, and you got 10, 12, 13 foot normal tides, and you add a king tide with a storm surge. I mean, and suddenly you can be like floating off your dock.
Yeah, and as Sabina said, here in 2008, Faye flooded Seminole Boulevard, so the road down through Sanford, which seems kind of crazy now because we're floating way down below the seawalls here, and that would have been much higher water.
Water was close to First Street.
Yeah. And here's an actual question from the RV Escape Pod Adventures.
So how are you guys handling COVID issues like shopping for food and stuff? Can you get food delivered to the boat? And yes, that is a huge reason we came to Sanford, is we are downtown. So we have lots of takeout options. So we do a lot of online ordering and contactless takeout, supporting our local businesses. And we do have Publix, Whole Foods, Aldi's, and Winn-Dixie
BJ's.
And BJ's.
Yeah,
those all will deliver right here to the dock. So we do that on a basis.
Every 10 days or so?
Yeah. Once about every 2 weeks, we'll have a delivery. And then every so often, I just have to go in and pick my own stuff out. There's some things that they just don't offer on the online ordering. So we do brave it. We'll pick an early morning.
Mid-morning. And go to a non-popular Publix.
Yeah, we know which ones are less popular around here. Maybe there's actually one that we can take the boat across the lake, anchor,
walk to the Publix,
take the dinghy ashore, walk to the Publix, and we like that one because it's less busy, and then we can do our provisioning there and just get the things we want that aren't necessarily on their online delivery. So we've been mixing it up, mostly staying out. We're doing, we're blessed to be able to work from home, so we are taking that blessing seriously and minimizing our risk.
So we've been trying like one socially distanced social gathering,
maybe
probably about once a week. So we'll just see people.
Not even a gathering. I mean, meet up with one or two.
One other person.
Gathering's a different word. And meet up with one or two other people.
Yes. We'll go out and get takeout and sit at a table on the opposite sides from each other.
And as Sabina says, in the farmer's market on Saturday. Yes, there's a farmer's market that comes in Saturday mornings. There's a basic vegetable, local farm that brings in fresh vegetables. So we
just discovered a new juice guy at the cold pressed juices at the farmer's market. Oh, so good.
Yes.
And Colin asks, is it storming for us right now? The
No.
blue skies have gone away, and there's some dark clouds
Yeah.
going by, so maybe we'll get a band.
The winds are at 7 miles per hour right now. I don't consider that storming.
Yeah.
The flag's whipping a little bit.
Yeah,
up
the higher
there,
up out of the basin we're in,
it's probably
the wind's
about
probably
20.
about 25 to 30.
Yeah.
So it's breezy, but definitely nothing too exciting.
Nothing worse than a normal Florida storm day right now.
Cool. And, cool. Colin's a new subscriber then, so welcome. Thank you. Cool. We just do random informal things and pop up on YouTube from time to time. It's
just fun. We do this just for fun. It's been a while.
It's been a month since we've done a Technomadia video, right?
It really has. And it's been, we're not actively, we are traveling. We're getting out and doing the RV trips, but I don't know. We are doing some filming when we do the little camping trips. I might start putting together like a monthly recap. I might go back to June and start there and try to catch up because, we've run out of topics to talk about over the last 12 years that we've been on YouTube and the 14 years we've blogged. We've covered almost every topic
we've been here long enough that we know all the local ducks by name. So maybe
we've named them.
Yeah, well, we've named them, but maybe we'll start doing an interview series where we'll talk to the local ducks and let you hear their stories. So we are going a little stir crazy in some ways, like most people in the country, but we're actually making the most of it and the best of it.
We're focusing a lot on work and the content. Thankfully, that's keeping us super busy. But yeah, if you have ideas for new content, videos, topics you want us to cover, please do leave it in a comment. Let us know. We'll think about maybe doing it. I don't know.
And remember, if it's a mobile internet related thing, we are doing that. That's over at the other channel, Mobile Internet Info, the Mobile Internet Resource Center. That's where we're putting out videos constantly. Because that's keeping us way busy.
So, Colin wants to know, do we like RVing? So we started full-time RVing in 2006. And been full-time since then. We got the boat in 2017. Yes, we love RVing. We currently own 2 RVs and a boat. So we split our time. We normally split our time between the 2 RVs and use the camper van to get between them. But the pandemic's got us shifting things around.
Sandy's got a good point. They're staying put for this one, but if it's Cat 2 or higher, they would be leaving. And again, that's basically our kind of criteria too. Tropical Storm and Cat 1. But Cat 2 or higher, particularly because once they start to get to that size, they could start to ramp up again really faster, higher and faster, really quick. That's when you really need to not mess around because the big ones, each level up just takes it to a whole nother level of ferociousness.
Right. And know your threshold and stay aware. Those are the most important things that you can do.
Valerie says they went to Cedar Key because of what we shared. We love Cedar Key. It's another place that's been hit by hurricanes a couple times now. It's a beautiful little not in the Keys, Key of Florida.
Solar power for blimp operations and ant placement?
I'm
not quite sure I understand what you're asking.
I would love to have a solar powered Zeppelin. Is like on my ultimate dream list. If you know one for sale, I'm down. That would be cool.
What do you anticipate for the fall? Will you need to quarantine?
That's why we're here in Sanford.
So, we're in a world right now where looking out more than a week or 2 at a time is hard. We're probably going to stay. Peak hurricane season is through October, so we will likely be here through that. I can't see that changing. Yeah,
we'll just keep doing little van trips, basing ourselves around Sanford until hurricane threats are past, probably.
So after that, we'll evaluate what the world looks like and if it feels safe. Our buses in Arizona, which is another hotspot, I can't see it making sense to move from one hotspot just to be in another hotspot where we can't go do anything, where we can be here and be in walking distance to so much and be close to family. So we'll play it by ear. That's kind of what we all are doing right now, right?
Yeah. Now, Mary here has got a brilliant idea of things that we can do as a live broadcast.
I love this idea, Mary Lynn.
Have viewers send bottles of wine, and we review 5 of them at a time live. By the 5th bottle, it'd be a very interesting live broadcast.
So if anyone is up for sending us bottles of wine to review live on camera, we are game for that.
Yes.
Let us know. Drop us an email. Contact@technomadia.com. We'll send you our shipping address to send us a bottle of wine to try live on camera.
This could be a negative challenge too, so I'm not sure. Maybe send us good wine.
Good wine.
It doesn't have to be expensive wine, but just don't try to see how much of an icky face we can make on camera. We can do that. This could be fun. It's
was there one up above John and Sharon's, hey guys, a little bit late. A topic might be pitfalls of having a home base not in your state of domicile. John Lightning.
Oh, okay. Okay, there we are.
Yeah, that's probably a best for a lawyer. We might be able to get Sean Loring on camera with us maybe and address some of that.
Our state of domicile is Florida.
So. That was a big reason also for us returning to Florida because we knew that this was going to be long term, and I didn't want to deal with those issues of dealing with potentially having to get local residency, having that called into question, bending rules, losing.
We just had another nice gust and the boat swung out.
Yeah, so there's all sorts of things. There's local taxes that you might be, business licensure. So we wanted to keep it simple. That's why another reason that played in favor of us coming back to Sanford, Florida, was that we wouldn't have to worry about that because we're already domiciled in Florida and we already have all that stuff set up.
We got a Margot. Hey,
Margot.
Hey, Margot. And just a shout out for her cause. She is separated from her sweetie. She's in Canada, and her partner is in the U.S.
Is American.
And because there's the countries are being rotten, they can't get to.
The borders are of course shut for the reason of COVID for non-essential travels, but they did allow married partners to cross the border to be back, but they're not legally married and they can't be together. They've now been apart since I believe May. It's been way too long.
And so Margot's doing some amazing work lobbying the Canadian government and putting pressure and raising awareness of this issue. And there's a lot of people all around the world who are impacted, of couples that are just being caught in
even
border
adult
crises.
Even families of multi-nationalities, kids and things like that. So that's just it is very sad, and it's this is a stressful time being with your loved one. I mean, I'm thankful I get to spend my days with people I love.
It would be so much harder to be separated.
If we were separated, I mean, it's bad enough that if you get sick for any reason, you might not be able to be with your loved one if they're in a hospital. I know. But even to have the support of a loved one with you while you're going through
quite a few countries have finally realized that they need to have basically a process. We're not letting people in for tourism. We're letting people in to bring families back together and stuff like that. So hopefully Canada and the U.S. will get straight with this in the near future and keep fighting the good fight. And our thoughts are with you and Michael, Margot, definitely.
Yes.
And any other questions, or do we go drink some wine now? And we could take the camera back outside, and you can see where the sun came back again. So this is this strange little band. It's got dark, got light.
Yeah, it is supposed to get a little worse overnight, so we'll of course be paying attention. We're not going to drink all the wine, but this has been thankfully a non-event so far. We really thought it should have been like yesterday was when the storms
first
forecast for the winds to be picking up here. So we've been kind of just like putting it off. It's like you start to plan your day. I mean, like, how do we plan our days? We work. But he's like, okay.
Plan our walks. Like, when's it not going to be raining? It turns out we're not getting hardly any rain at all. Yeah. And actually, we went out for a walk this morning, and that's when a band of rain came through.
We got
soaked. But it's like, really, it rained for 5 minutes. It happened to be while we were walking.
Yeah.
Hey. And yes, maybe in the winter we'll all be able to hang out in Texas again somewhere. That'd be awesome to see you guys again.
Yes, possibility we may make it to Texas. We have some family reasons to be there this fall, so we shall see.
Fingers crossed.
Ration that wine. Yeah, well, apparently y'all are sending us bottles of wine, so how much do we have to ration it?
Yeah, and Total Wine makes deliveries too.
Yes, yeah. So we thankfully with grocery delivery in Florida, you can deliver wine, and most of we have 4 breweries. One of them shut down. A cidery, a distillery, and a winery, all in walking distance of the boat, and most of them do take out alcohol too. So we're definitely not suffering here.
Sanford is a good place to be stuck for a pandemic. I have to give Sanford mad props. Is just a wonderful town with so much accessible and walking distance, and we have so much good food to go grab. So it's no Thai though. There's no good Thai in town.
They do have sushi now since we left here.
Lots of good sushi.
Margot wants to know, does it feel scary to be in Florida during COVID? It's surreal. Let's just go with that.
It's scary to be in America during COVID, but Florida is extra.
Yeah, we set our boundaries when this all came about, and having some people in our circles who have had major issues with COVID who were otherwise healthy beforehand, and seeing firsthand how bad it can be.
Yeah, this is not just a flu.
It is definitely not just a flu. We not even on that fence. We're just we set our protocols. We're sticking to them, and we're blessed that we work from home and have a thriving business during this,
and lots of takeout options and food delivery.
So we're just embracing that and trying. There are days where I think we both just curl up in a ball and want to go into the fetal position.
But I think that's it.
I think everyone's doing that, so I don't think we're unique with that.
Now,
so, you know, you just allow yourself to feel it and count your blessings on the good days.
So Richard has a question for Kiki.
How old is Kiki now?
Kiki, come answer that.
Kiki no, I'm not getting up, and she's I got too many pillows to climb over to get to her. She will be turning 12 in October, so
she needs to make an appearance.
Okay.
She has to earn her keep.
Yeah, so she's getting up there. She's becoming a senior kitty. But she adopted us. We found her in December of 2008 while we were living in our Oliver travel trailer. She was at a friend's ranch in Oregon. They had found her and her siblings in a chicken coop being raised by chickens at a week old.
Yes.
And they had been bottle feeding them and raising them. And she was 7 weeks old. And she crawled up on my lap and said, "Hi, I'm coming with you." Yep. We said, "Hi, we travel and we live in a tiny travel trailer." She says, "That's okay." We
took her for a week audition and it stuck.
So she's been with us ever since.
She is such a wonderful nomadic cat. And she really likes camping and
much
going
better
lizard
than
hunting.
So,
the boat's boring in comparison because not nearly as much stuff to... Well, she likes to talk to the birds, though. A lot of birds.
She loves the birds that come to the boat. But yeah, she definitely loves getting out in the campgrounds where she can stalk things and play in the trees and stuff. So we make it a priority to get her to a campground a couple times a month.
Yes.
We're blessed to have some great Florida state parks around within an hour of here. So
and she does love to stream the bird channels on YouTube. So we'll put the big screen up and she'll just watch. You know, she's a YouTube fanatic and will watch birds all day on YouTube. So you know she's got that too. Yes, we love our kitten.
All right, I think it's time to say good evening. Do we share your food with Kiki?
She sometimes shares her. Well, she takes food from us.
If we're having fresh grilled fish, she loves to share fresh fish with us. And turkey, Sabina, tell her about the turkey.
Yes,
She loves smoked and baked turkey. So.
Yes, and Auntie Sabina always brings Kiki turkey, so you know there's that.
RV Crazy Crowds there in the chat room.
Yep.
Our local friends here, they're just a couple blocks over.
Turkey and cheese. Yes, last time they were together, Kiki was getting the cheese.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, we're going to say good evening. Thank you for joining in for our wild and crazy storm.
Yeah, let me go put the camera outside and let you see the last of this storm, and then we'll play our outro. Ding.
Good night.
Let's step out into the ferocious wind. Actually, here. Oh, feel the breeze. Woohoo! There it is. Tropical storm. Boats are rocking around. Big river boats got the flag whipping on top. And
Kiki's going outside.
Okay, Kiki's going to join the storm. I'm going to play the farewell video. Thank you guys all for joining us. Thank you.